In 2019, a man by the name Kenny Gregg takes his own life in his bedroom, leaving behind a 2-year-old daughter and a devastated sister. Just the day before, he had sent an email to his lawyer, an email containing evidence of online trolling and harassment, but with no other way to cope, he took the only way out he could see. Kenny was 27 at the time of death, and he was known to be pretty sensitive about what others thought of him. Aside from just this case, trolling has caused numerous suicides and a ridiculous amount of mental damage. Hello guys, I hope I didn't scare you away with this little serious intro, but it is a pretty serious topic, and of course I can't just goof my way through someone's death, but the rest of the video will be fairly lighthearted, and I hope you enjoy. Today, as you might already have guessed, the topic is trolling, and I want to discuss the more sadistic side of the deeper levels of trolling, as well as the psychology behind trolling, the meaning of the word trolling and its origins, and also a little bit of political stuff, so get ready to be angry. FYI, I'm also going to include a bit of my own personal opinions and takes in this video. Oh, and before we get started, I really want to thank the people who commented nice stuff on my last video. Here you guys are. I'm going to put you guys up on the screen, because that really motivates me, and I just want to give an extra thanks to you guys. Alright, let's go. Trolling is a word that you are familiar with, unless you know even less about internet culture than my mom. As for the origin and meaning of the word, which I'll delve into deeper later, the word has been dated all the way back to the 80s, and it's often associated with antisocial behavior and generally just a role of getting in the way of others. In fishing, trolling is a way to bait, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. A lot of you, like myself included, might have experienced the word spread to real life, and it's really a common word for a lot of the population. But trolling is really anything from just pushing your friends around for a bit of fun, or being ahead in a conversation and like making a fool out of the other person for a little laugh, right? But it can also be something much more sadistic, and it even has a history of being used for political purposes. There are grades to trolling, and those grades can range all the way to psychopathic behavior. And that's what I'll be diving into today, starting with the lighter grades of trolling. Poking someone or tricking someone for a laugh is pretty much as far as I think trolling reaches without causing any harm. Good old troll face is probably the first thing that pops in your head when I say the word trolling, alongside Minecraft How to Troll Your Friends tutorial, if you're an old school YouTube guy like me. Anyways, you'd expect to see a troll face whenever someone successfully harasses another person on the internet. I think most of us are guilty of trolling people, but a lot of the time it's pretty innocent. And of course, no one should feel guilt for just having a bit of fun with someone. But I do have something to say when it comes to when you should feel guilty about trolling. Through online culture, a culture of anonymity and lack of consequences, we kind of expose to ourselves whether or not we have sadistic tendencies. Now, a sadist could easily go their whole life without hurting a soul, because the consequences dictated to be against their own self-interest. You could go the first, say, 16 years of your life, and the second you get exposed to an anonymous, consequence-free environment, you could discover that you actually find joy in hurting other people. Now, this all sounds very dramatic, and there are of course more casual sides to trolling, like just teasing someone because you feel confident in your opinion and you want to make fun of someone's ignorance, for example. For now, let's transition to something else that has to do with people who are way too sure about their opinion. Welcome to everyone's favorite part of anything ever. Powerful white dudes taking advantage. Woo! Woo! You might think this has nothing to do with trolling, but even in the case of political and corporate acts, we're still talking about misinformation and straight up harassment. Along with so many other things, trolling has a history of being used to misinform the public. It's also been used to cause doubt and uncertainty within groups who would otherwise share a belief. This is what they call concern trolling, infiltrating the group while appearing as though you share the same goal, but you're really just there to cause doubt and uncertainty. In some cases of this, it's been used to infiltrate groups who share a belief and then start spreading very extreme values. It's not uncommon for trolls to make political statements that they don't even believe themselves, either for shock factor or creating doubt, as I just mentioned before. I think a lot of people do this to make people with differentiating political views look very bad. For example, if a right-wing person or group tries to make all left-wing values appear as if they support communist dictatorship, or the other way around, a left-wing person or group tries to make all right-wing values appear to support fascism. Obviously, not everyone right-leaning or left-leaning has to necessarily support fascism or communist dictatorship. Now, that was just my personal way of explaining how a troll could, push either side to the extreme, so take that with a grain of salt. Now, when it comes to different sorts of political trolling, certain governments around the world have been known to pay people to create pro-government posts or memes that are anti-whoever or whatever that government is fighting against at the time. These meme agents are what you call sock puppets. It might seem obvious why they call them sock puppets because of the puppet part, but maybe it's because they get used for personal gain like so many poor crusty socks around the world. In important political discussions, the word trolling gets abused to invalidate anyone with differing opinions, shrugging off critique or counter arguments as trolling and just really misleading people. I think in the right situation, this is a really powerful way to instantly invalidate anyone who's trying to criticize you. Imagine being someone who wants to make a new building, for example, and by doing so you have to destroy something that's really useful to others, like a forest, or maybe your building will just be in the way of others. If you're really good at justifying your own actions, then you can easily discard any criticism as trolls just trying to prevent you from making a new building. Gosh darn environmentalists. Controversial political groups can also use trolling to make statements that society might otherwise not give them the spotlight to make. Now, I don't support political actions that harm people, of course, but sometimes taking action in other ways is necessary to push a message, especially when the political scene is a giant mess most of the time. Politicians are essentially bullying each other on television to advertise for their political party. It's really shocking the lengths that these people will go to. It becomes quite a lot more apparent though when you realize that a lot of these politicians get paid off by corporations to basically just be their puppets saying whatever they want. Now, with all that said, when the whole scene is a mess and there's no space for the small fish to make their statements, they might take action to show their message instead. Nothing sends a message better than just exposing a weakness in the system somewhere, or just making some sort of art for the distracted world to see. Alright, now that all that's out of the way, we can really get to the juicy parts. The parts that just make you question your sanity if you enjoy trolling. The motivation behind a lot of more harmful trolling is often hate or revenge. A mind full of hate can quickly turn to a complete lack of empathy for other people. Now, that means death threats, stalking, swatting, which I'll get into later, and a whole variety of hate crimes. Other motives to deeper levels of trolling are often associated with narcissism or just plain sadism. Looking at the early history of trolling on the forums shows a culture of exclusivity and just trying to throw off these newbies, as they called them back then. In general, just treating people like they're lesser human beings. I think a lot of trolling nowadays is based off the same premise, right? Just outsmarting someone to show off intellect, or just anything that makes the troll feel a sense of superiority for whatever reason. Catch me if you can might be the mindset behind a troll, as a lot of trolls find joy in just seeing how long they can go without getting caught. Trolling someone until they just can't help but feel completely dominated. For a lot of them, it's sort of a competition. Trolls aspire to violence, to the level of trouble they can create in an environment. They want it to kick off. They want to promote antipathetic emotions of disgust and outrage, which morbidly gives them pleasure. That was a quote from this dude named Tom Posmus, who I have no idea who is, but I agree with him on this one topic. He calls it violence, and I kind of agree with it, but it's also a little overkill for most cases of trolling. But you get the gist of it. The idea is just that trolls don't want to do anything but just provoke. Most people, though, see the trolls for who they are. The more extreme the troll, or the more extreme the trolling, the more pity you could feel for the troll and their life situation, right? Like, the more desperately the troll seeks joy from hurting you, the less joy they probably have in the rest of their life. De-individuation is a word that tries to explain when someone has, like, a lack of self-awareness in a group, perhaps not considering their personality as important a factor amongst other people. This leads to careless and impulsive behavior, which could explain some trolling. Others might not experience this, others might not feel a lack of self-awareness, and instead just use trolling as a call for help. Maybe they use it as a message about their identity, or a message about their suffering. A shot in the dark in hopes that someone understands. To try and better explain how desperate I think a troll situation could be, I made this little analogy. Like an island survivor that uses the last energy they have left to lay rocks in the pattern of a text that says help, a troll might just send out a controversial post in a last-ditch desperate effort to get rescued. They both might have given up on everything else, but maybe that signal will be what changes everything. We haven't completely given up on living until we're cold and dead. Chaos and societal collapse. Destroying all attempts at communicating. Ruining someone's life, one piece at a time. Making someone feel hopeless. This is the deeper end of trolling, and in a lot of situations, it's just downright psychotic behavior. The peak of sadism. Fair disclaimer, I want to say that radical political views or controversial political views does not equal psychopathy. That is not what I'm trying to say. Sadism and psychopathy is in its own category, and almost every political belief has at least a few people like that. I'm talking about wanting to cause pain in others for no other reason than your own enjoyment. Sitting at home and just taking actions that cause chaos all around the world from your computer. I can't entirely conclude if it's purely sadism and a superiority complex, but my personal take is that for some it might be just a way to make any sort of impact on the world. When your beliefs don't allow you to make any major effect on the world and you really don't want to be meaningless, then why not just change your beliefs in a direction that makes it easy to make a big impact? I seriously don't advocate for a chaos-oriented set of beliefs, but this might be what's going on inside of the head of a troll that's just looking to cause some havoc on a large scale. Sending armed police squads to someone's house is a pretty common way of trolling in the more deeper end of it all. It's literally just risking someone's life for your own entertainment, or as an act of retribution. If swatting isn't for you, then death threats have a pretty good history of causing a lot of mental damage and countless suicides. The damage that's been caused by the deep end of trolling is immeasurable, really, and it just highlights the fact that we have countless people out there that need help so desperately that they're willing to cause suicides for their own personal enjoyment. I think it's pretty clear this speaks a lot for a societal mental health issue. Trolling at larger scales like this can be pretty easily defined, right? It's just sadistic harassment and or being deceptive. It's pretty safe to say that behind the word trolling lies a lot of massive problems, but there also lies just innocent banter and fun between friends. Alright guys, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about trolling, and whether you like this video or not, please let me know, because I really appreciate the comments. So I just want to know what to make for the future, alright? But thank you so much if you watched all the way to the end, and thank you so much for supporting me, and yeah, all of that. Love you guys. Bye.